Hello everyone. On behalf of the committee of the Society of William Wallace, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our first and hopefully our last virtual Wallace Day. Now I know many of you will be watching this who haven't been in attendance at the Society's Wallace Day celebrations, so just for you I'll give you a little bit of an insight of what usually happens at Wallace Day in Elderslie. Wallace Day goes back at least until 1912, and it's the Society's prime annual event. The commemoration takes place at Wallace's birthplace in Elderslie, just close to modern day Glasgow Airport, and it's on the nearest Saturday to the 23rd of August, because that's the date that Wallace was judicially murdered at Smithfield in London in 1305. Our day starts with a muster at Ludovic Square in nearby Johnson at 2 p.m. as we prepare for the march to Elderslie Wallace Monument. The police will have cleared one half of the road for us for the march, and we'll make our way there led by the pipes and drums as we make our way to Wallace's birthplace, with our saltires flying proudly in the sky. On arriving at the site, we are greeted by those people who are either less inclined to walk or less able to walk, and those people who are at the merchandise and the membership tents. At the site, there are formal speeches, there are songs, and there indeed is a sombre, solemn tribute to Scotland's greatest hero, Sir William Wallace. After the commemoration, we make our way along to Elderslie Village Hall for the evening's hoolie. A great evening of live music, great fun and awards. It's a great night, it's a great day. It would be really nice if sometime in the future you could join us at a future Wallace Day celebration. And for those of you who are usually at the Wallace Day commemorations, a great big hello to you. It's great that you're joining us again. And I'm sure that Gary and the committee are really missing you, especially today. And we fervently hope that next year, in good health and a COVID-free environment, we can welcome everybody to Wallace Day 2021. I'd like now to introduce Delina McLennan. Delina has had a long and distinguished career in the arts. Folk singing, acting, all the way from the Chevy at the Stag and the Black Oil, through to Still Game and much in between. Writing, broadcasting, she's had a TV documentary done about her, and she is a renowned champion of the Gaelic language and arts. So it's a real pleasure to be able to introduce Delina. In her 2014 autobiography, she writes, "The singing and the music, the laughter and the love is what I remember. And I shall sing and dance and laugh and love, especially if I live to see my country free." So please welcome Delina McLennan.
Well, those of you who have been visiting the Wallace Monument over the years and saw the Hall of Heroes, it was just that, the Hall of Heroes. 14 busts of the great and the good, all men. However, that's all changed now. A few years ago, it was decided that it was time there should be a Scottish heroine among them. So because I'm part of the Saltire Society, I was invited to be one of the panel of 6 who went through hundreds and hundreds of very famous and wonderful Scottish women. It was an exercise that I loved and discovered so much more about my own countrywomen. We decided there were so many of them to put them into 4 different categories. And then all 6 of us went away and read about them and chose our own favourites, and that took it down to 94. And then they picked up the favourite ones, and that took it down to 14, which was quite a marathon task. Then it went out to the public, all 14 of them. And if you've ever seen this little booklet, I'm sure there's some of them around, and it gives a little history of all the ones that were chosen by the public. Now, at the end of the day, the first 2 were so close. So out of 7,000 votes, there was only about 3 votes between number 1 and number 2. So we decided to have 2 Scottish heroines join the men in the Wallace Monument. And the first one out of all of those was Mary Slessor. Now Mary Slessor she was a poor girl from Aberdeen who went to work in the jute mills of Dundee. She was self-taught and heard about David Livingstone and decided to go to Nigeria to be a missionary. And she is world famous for her work. She saved twins, which at that time, in the late 1800s, twins were murdered at birth because they were supposed to be evil, and she saved twins. She's so famous for that. And she's buried there, and there are ladies from Dundee who still go over there for her birthday sometimes, and the women of Nigeria worship her. They climb up the mountain where she's buried, singing songs to her. The next one to her was Maggie Keswick Jenks. Now, she came from a totally different background. She was young, she was only born in 1941 and died in 1995 of cancer, a very swift cancer. And she was a garden designer. And she was having treatment at the Western Infirmary in Edinburgh when she thought, there's nothing here for cancer patients apart from treatment. And she designed, before she died, she designed the first Maggie Centre in the grounds of the Western Infirmary in Edinburgh. And there's now over 20 Maggie Centres for cancer patients across the world. So both of them left a huge legacy behind them. There were some wonderful women selected. There was Margaret MacDonald, there was Madivor Noran, Jean Redpath, Nancy Reich, Victoria Drummond, Crystal Macmillan, Dorothea Pullinger, Mary Somerville, Elsie Ingalls, Sophia Jex Blake, Maggie Keswick Jenks, Jane Haining, Christian McLagan and Mary Slessor. Now they were all worthy, and hopefully when money's more available, some more of them will take their place in the Hall of Heroes. And in this Hall of Heroes is worth going to see, and if I can do it at my age, any of you young people can do it. Climb up all those stairs and view the two busts now of Mary Slessor and Maggie Keswick Jenks among the beautiful, beautiful bronzes and busts in the Hall of Heroes, beside, obviously, Wallace's sword. This song is called Mrana Glenyasa, or Vrana Glenyasa. It's Women of this Glen, it is time you rose up. And lekatu, lekatu, ochata, hokatu, they put you down, they didn't raise you up again. They put you down in the dirt beside the wall. Nobody knows where it belongs. I used it, I sang it in the Outlaw King, but it wasn't used, so it's okay for me to use it. Some people say it belongs to Glencoe, but I think it suits this program as well. So here it goes. Vrana Glenyasa, Vrana Glenyasa, Vrana Glenyasa, Smichai Veri, Vrana Glenyasa, Vrana Glenyasa, Vrana Glenyasa, Smichai Veri. Lekatu, lekatu, ochatu, hokatu, lekatu, lekatu, nyeperagari. Lekatu, lekatu, ochatu, hokatu, lekatu, lekatu, nyeperagari. Vrana Glenyasa, Vrana Glenyasa, Vrana Glenyasa, Smichai Veri. It's time for the women to stand up and do something. Smichai Veri.
That was Delina McLennan. Thank you, Delina. The relationship between the Society of William Wallace and Clan Wallace internationally has never been stronger, thanks to our next speaker. The mutual respect between the two organisations has been fostered by the Society's convener Gary Stewart and the Chief of the Clan Wallace, Andrew Wallace. Andrew is the 36th Chief of the Clan Wallace, having taken on the role from his late father in 2016. Now, by a quirk of fate perhaps, Andrew was actually born only 500 yards away from the very spot where William Wallace met his barbarous death in 1305. The Society of William Wallace is honoured to have Andrew Wallace make his first speech at Wallace Day.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all those celebrating Wallace Day, albeit in circumstances that none of us could have begun to imagine 6 months ago. I'd like to start by thanking Gary and the Society for the very creative and nimble way he and the Society have responded to this pandemic, which has ensured that this important day in the national calendar of Scotland has not been left uncelebrated. We've all got used to a very new way of working and keeping momentum going in so many different walks of life, and this event is just another example of that, and I know all of us hope for a speedy return to happier and rather more normal times. I'd also like to commend the Society for all the fantastic work that they do to keep the name of arguably Scotland's greatest national hero alive and in the eye of the public both here and across the world. Recent achievements of the Society include the unveiling of the Bella the Bray monument in 2016 and also 2 plaques at Rutherglen Church where Menteith agreed to portray William Wallace. The Society has also arranged for a commemoration plaque to be installed at Smithfield in London where Wallace was executed, and this was timed to coincide with the 10th anniversary of the Society's celebrated Walk for Wallace. Not an organisation to let the grass grow under its feet, the Society is working on a variety of new projects, amongst them a bust of William Wallace, hopefully to be sited at the Wallace Monument in Stirling, and also the construction of a monument in Port Glasgow where legend suggests Wallace was chained to an oak tree. This project is hopefully going to be a collaboration of the Clan Wallace Society in the United States, which is incredibly active throughout North America and beyond, on all matters relating to the family and name of Wallace. I'd also like to thank them for the enormous amount of work they do to promote awareness beyond these shores, not only of Sir William's story, but that of the family as a whole. All this is evidence of a very busy and active organisation, and I'd particularly like to thank Gary and his colleagues at the Society for all the determination and sheer hard work which they do, all on a voluntary basis, to keep the flame of the Wallace story burning brightly. And anybody who's met Gary knows he's a very hard man to say no to. Gary's asked me to say a few words about what it actually means to be head of the Wallace family, and of course it's a very different role to that of the past, with the main focus being on being an ambassador for the family. 4 years ago I attended one of the great gatherings in the United States as a guest of honour at the Highland Games in Salado, Texas. The passion, the commitment, the enthusiasm for Scotland on show there would have made any Scotsman proud, and I feel sometimes we don't really understand how powerful the image of this great country is. I had an exchange recently with the convener of the Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs, Donald MacLaren of MacLaren, which does such excellent work promoting Scotland and the history of its clans and families, both here and abroad. I made an observation about his distinguished career as a diplomat, and he replied simply and modestly, "Not that distinguished really, the only real distinction is to be Scottish," and I think that pretty much says it all. I'd like to finish by again thanking the Society for organising this virtual event and to all those participating. I'm sure many, if not all of you, would share Donald MacLaren's view. And with that, I'd like to finish with my very best wishes to all of you on this really important day during what are undoubtedly very difficult times for many. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew Wallace, Chief of the Clan Wallace. Before moving on to our next speaker, I would like to politely give a reminder on behalf of the Society. The Society of William Wallace is a Scottish registered charity. It is fully reliant on membership fees for its running. And today, Wallace Day, is one of those days where a lot of people tended to join or rejoin the Society. The Society on Facebook has over 25,000 followers, but only a very small percentage of those are actually members. I'll tell you what we could do if even a tenth of those 25,000 were members. So please, today, please join or rejoin if you've lapsed, or renew your membership if it's due today. We really need all the assistance we can get and all the members that we can possibly do. And it's not expensive. Membership? Well, for 12 months from the date of payment, it's only £10. The price of 3 pints of beer or less. And indeed, if you're under 16 or over 60, it's only £5. And it's easy to join. Just go to www.thesocietyofwilliamwallace.com, click on the tab that says The Society, and there you will see a link joining the Society. We really need more members if we are to continue to be effective. So, thank you very much for giving this your consideration. Now, if someone from Liechtenstein is motivated to be a member and help the Society to preserve the name and preserve the memory of Scotland's greatest national hero, then hopefully all of you who are watching will be so similarly motivated. Because Patrick Herman, a native Liechtensteiner, who made his excellent maiden speech at Wallace Day last year, is a member of the Society, and we've invited him back to represent the internationalism of the Society of William Wallace and to show the importance and the relevance of Wallace on borders far away from Scotland. So please welcome back from Liechtenstein, Patrick Herman.
Dearest friends and members of the Society of William Wallace, I'm standing here in front of Vaduz Castle in Liechtenstein, my homeland. Prince Hans Adam II, as well as the head of state, his son, the hereditary Prince Alois, live here in the castle. I would like to send you my warmest greetings, and I want to thank you again for the great honor to be able to speak to you as a member of the Society of William Wallace. My fascination for Scotland goes way back to my childhood and teenage years. Originally, I was delighted by the fortresses and castles, the wide-reaching landscapes, the kilts, the bagpipes, the lakes, the forests, and the mystique of your country. Later, I became very interested in the history of Scotland, the clans and their significance. I saw parallels to my homeland and my family. My excitement for and my interest in Scotland grew and grew. Liechtenstein has remained a constitutional monarchy. Our princely family has a lot of political rights and influence. The small state of Liechtenstein has been sovereign since 1806 and has been able to stay independent despite the 2 world wars. For that reason, I can painfully sympathize with the history of Scotland and its subjugation and oppression by foreign forces. My family, Family Herman, is a large family. My father was head of the clan. I feel my family is a clan similar to the clans I have got to know in Scotland. My fascination with Scotland has meant I have often been there. I wanted to get to know the country and its people. It was always on my dreams to once wear a kilt. Already then, on my first visit, I bought a kilt. I decided on a neutral kilt with the pattern of a roaring lion. I was, however, not sure if I was allowed to wear the kilt. My respect for your traditions was so great. I tried to find a tartan which had the colors of the Herman family, red, black and gold. I found one and recognized that I had the tartan of the Wallace clan in my hands. I knew the history of William Wallace. For me, it was a revelation. As a result of my fascination, I got very engaged in the attempt to organize a Liechtenstein tattoo in my country. With the tattoo, the aura of Scotland came to Liechtenstein, and I met some Scottish pipers who became aware of my great wish to have official permission to wear the Wallace clan tartan. Connections were developed, and I was invited to the Wallace Society. Still today, the reverence and honour flows through me because in Campus Kenneth I'm not only received the permission to wear the kilt of the Wallace clan, but I also became a member of the society. I'm proud of this every day. The present corona situation makes a meeting impossible this year, but this is a chance to take our message, the message and history of William Wallace, in a digital form out into the world. The upholding of history and memories is a huge task that isn't getting easier. It will only succeed when we can make young people enthusiastic about it. Let us take advantage of the 16th of April 2021, the 275th anniversary of the Battle of Culloden. We should use modern digital media and any other possibilities to keep the memories alive. William Wallace sacrificed himself for Scotland. He deserves to be remembered by future generations who can also participate in his remembrance. I promise you my support and my lifeblood. Dearest friends, I greet you with the greatest respect.
So once again from Liechtenstein, yes, Patrick Herman. Thank you very much, Patrick. Next up is a well-kent face in Scottish folk and jazz music circles, who has entertained and supported the Society at previous Wallace Day and Battle of Stirling Brig commemorations. Recently, he very generously donated 50 autographed CDs that include the song Wallace the Brave, that is part of a very special Wallace Oak Project bundle. Gary will tell you more about that, but check it for yourself on the Society's website. But do so quickly, because there are only 50 bundles available, and when they're gone, they're gone. But back to our well-kent face. He was hugely responsible for bringing new songs about Scotland to the general public's attention, and also for instilling a pride in the older songs of Scotland into the new generation. He remains a contemporary working artist who is valid today with his material as he was back in the 80s and 90s. He continues to inspire people from across the generations. May I present the very welcome Wallace Day return of Alistair MacDonald.
I consider it a privilege to be invited into this tribute to Scotland's national hero, William Wallace. When Scotland lay in darkness under English Edward's heel, there rose a lad to lead us and to make the tyrant reel. He raised up his arm for freedom, showing nerve and Scottish steel. William Wallace, the pride o' Elderslie. Sing now of Wallace to all who would be free, guardian of Scotland, of truth and liberty. With the loyal Andrew Murray, how he danced the English down. At Berwick and at Stirling he provoked a royal frown, and mercenary traitors from Carlisle to Glasgow town spoke of Wallace, the pride of Elderslie. Sing now of Wallace to all who would be free, guardian of Scotland, of truth and liberty. But the sky grew black at Falkirk as the English arrows sped, and many a mother's son did lie among the bloody dead, and men cheeked to Judas money that was placed upon the head of Wallace, the pride o' Elderslie. Sing now of Wallace to all who would be free, guardian of Scotland, of truth and liberty. Then the noblest heart of Scotland was revealed for all to see, when they hacked him into pieces underneath the gallows tree. But the butchery and slaughter cannot scar the memory of Wallace, the pride o' Elderslie. Once again the land's in darkness as we hang our heads to mourn, and remember how the Wallace caused oppressions tied to turn. But Scotsmen, I stand ready and prepare for Bannockburn, thanks to Wallace, the pride o' Elderslie. Sing now of Wallace to all who would be free, guardian of Scotland, of truth and liberty. William Wallace, who died to make us free, guardian of Scotland, of truth and liberty. I'm one of the generation of school kids that grew up so ignorant of my own history and culture that I believed there was a bloke in history called Wallace the Bruce. And that's why we should be grateful to songwriters and poets that have reminded us of our heritage and taught us where our education system failed. Maurice Blythman, poet, activist, songwriter, took the words of George Buchanan, a 16th century Latin scholar, who wrote of the perfervidum inganium, the ardent, uncrushable spirit of a nation. And in it he listed William Wallace with the other great heroes. Say here's to George Buchanan, he was first to give a name. And here's to William Wallace and John Maclean. And here's to Bonnie Alaba, we'll see you're free again. We perfervidum inganium scutorum. We perfervidum inganium, you hear the ring of bells. You watch the wheel of fortune and see what it foretells. We'll win our independence by taking it ourselves. We perfervidum inganium scutorum. How odd the way that characters are remembered in history. I think, for instance, of the English national hero, Robin Hood, Robin of Locksley, who's been depicted in so many different forms and yet, as a historical character, arguably didn't exist at all. Whereas Scotland's accredited national hero has received thus far, to this point of speaking, only one film. However, so significant has it been that writers spoke of the hero. They say that a hero has left us forever. The heart of the Wallace is beating no more, but his spirit lives on in the free-flowing river, and high in the sky where the wild eagles soar. The hero is gone, but our shackles are shed. No more to be serfs, but be free men instead. For Scotland he fought, and for Scotland he bled. So rejoice in the name of brave Wallace. Wallace the warrior, Wallace the brave. Never for him the cold, quiet grave. Though they shamed him and maimed and he died like a slave, the word that he lived by was freedom. Jim Douglas, poet, artist and free man of Dunfermline, wrote this tribute. They've harried our homes and set fire to the heather. The forests aflame and the red deer have gone, but freedom's a force that no tyrant can tether. The stag that is slaughtered lives on in the fawn. The hero is gone, but our shackles are shed. No more to be serfs, but be free men instead. For Scotland he fought, and for Scotland he bled. So rejoice in the name of brave Wallace. Wallace the warrior, Wallace the brave. Never for him the cold, quiet grave, though they chained him and maimed and he died like a slave. The word that he lived by was freedom. The dungeon can challenge the eye of the dreamer. The chains that restrain can be heavy and cold. But though on the scaffold they butchered our leader, 'twas swift flew his spirit on pinions of gold. The streets of old Stirling once rang with his name. Now only the minstrel dares sing of his fame. But a nation is waiting to rise up again, and will fight in the name of brave Wallace. Wallace the warrior, Wallace the brave, never for him the cold, quiet grave. Though they chained him and maimed and he died like a slave, the word that he lived by was freedom. Wallace the warrior, Wallace the brave, never for him the cold, quiet grave. Though they chained him and maimed and he died like a slave, the word that he lived by was freedom. The word that he gave us was freedom. A nation rising up. Wouldn't that be a sight to see?
Thanks, Alistair, and thanks very much for including Wallace the Brave. So if you do want to have that in your collection, you know where you can get it. Buy the bundle. Okay, now here's something different, even for you Wallace Day veterans. A young lady called Osario contacted the Society convener Gary Stewart back in January this year. She wanted to find out some more in-depth information about Sir William Wallace for a new project she was working on. This was to help her gain a greater insight into Wallace the man and to help bring her project to fruition. Well, 8 months on, you're about to see the result. Over to Osario for this special moment.
Hello, my name is Osario. I'm a sculptor. Here behind me you can see a small part of my sculpting den, which I will take you into this in a minute to show you the project. I started working on this particular project in January, end of January, and through this met Gary of the William Wallace Society, and he was very, very forthcoming in supplying me with advice, resources and all the things I needed to produce this project. It is a new William Wallace bust, which finally we decided, or Gary decided, we are actually going to bring it out for William Wallace Day 2020. I would like to say special thanks to the rest of the William Wallace Society, and in particular I would like to express how honoured I feel to be broadcast alongside Andrew Wallace, the clan leader, in 2020 to celebrate the 715th anniversary of William Wallace's very untimely death. There's a brief introduction into what I do. I do sculpt for a number of museums like the British Museum, and over here is Amundsen for the Polar Museum in Oslo, and this is in the middle Lorenzo de' Medici, sculpted back from his death mask, so you can see already different sizes. Here we have Fridtjof Nansen, again another polar explorer. I do sculpt different sizes, from small size like the tinsy little Wallace bust here in the middle, to figurative to small size busts like the small Shakespeare, the medium-sized Shakespeare. Here again is another Amundsen in a suit for the Polar Museum, and I do life-size busts as well. These are usually private commissioners or museums that engage in those. And here it is, confession time, and obviously the big question, what is it that made me do it? I have watched Braveheart several times, I must admit. Now the last time it really inspired me to make something of this character, and I started sculpting. I went on the internet and researched and found the William Wallace Society, and with that the first person I emailed was Gary, and Gary was very forthcoming, as said before, and helped me all through the project. Gary and his friends from the society advised me that this is the most authentical image that is available in good condition of William Wallace. And this is our first draft sculpt of the head, shoulders and parts of the bust, the cape, and from there it developed into this first bust of William Wallace in white clay. It is now completed and ready to go under the first rubber mold. Gary was very pleased with it. We've worked hard on this one, and I will show now the next process. Here's the bust with the first flow coat on it. We were by now approaching the coronavirus crisis. Hence, there was nobody available to mold for me. I had to do it here. So this is the first start, and it looks quite interesting and very different. After the flow coat, the first butter coat was applied, which is the darker pink color. Then the second butter coat, which is the lighter color, including all the keys already, to put the counterpart on the other side, and then it will be cut alongside the dividing line that you see at the moment. After cutting, William Wallace was then put into a fiberglass mold that is fixed on both sides, from both sides, as you can see here, very securely, so that the mold pieces hold together tightly. Making a mold is a long winding task and it's very intricate. You can see here now the successful unmolding of the bust. William is still intact, which is very good. Behind him, the pink is the rubber mold, the soft inside rubber, and the fiberglass molds that hold everything together in the back on the right. As you can see here, the bust is coming beautifully out of the soft rubber mold. The molding process has been successful. And this is a photograph of the finished bust with the black base underneath, lying in a protective insert of the box it will come with. It will lie on Wallace tartan, purchased at the House of Tartans in Scotland, to keep it as close as possible to Scottish ground as I could do. Additionally, there will be an aged looking parchment in the box with a brief history of William Wallace's life. This comes on 2 pages, and on the second page there is the coat of arms of the Wallace clan. The bronze resin bust will be transported in a wooden box like this. It's still in the process of being fully designed, so it will look slightly different by the time it is finished. This is the first master copy in plaster. These are usually made so that you have a replica in case the mold starts breaking down. And here it is, last not least, the finished product that we set out to do, which was a large bronze resin of William Wallace. It's an all-round bust with a lovely inscription on the plaque in the front that says, William Wallace, c. 1270 to 1505. For the love of freedom I lived, for the love of freedom I fought, for the love of freedom I died. And here are the two together. There's still little bits of improvements to make, but generally they're in a finalized form now. And thanks to the William Wallace Society, they have come to be. The William Wallace Society will receive 10% of all proceeds that come from this bust to further the course of preserving the memory of William Wallace. Both the plaster and the bronze resin bust will be for sale through the William Wallace Society. The Society will receive 10% of all proceeds to further the cause of preserving the memory of William Wallace. We are still working on further projects, so watch this space as you go along. And the busts themselves, these two are each, the plaster and the bronze resin, approximately 11 inches wide, 12 inches wide, and 14 inches high.
Thank you, Osario. Well, what did you think of that, folks? Time to get up off the couch, get the windies open, turn the volume up, and get ready to keep it tribal, because next up, Clan and Drummer. Thank you, Clannan Drummer. That certainly got the blood stirring, I'm sure, for everybody watching the broadcast today. For those of you new to Wallace Day, this convener of the Society of William Wallace is Gary Stewart. Gary has been a mainstay on the committee for many years. And if you manage to come to Elderslie for Wallace Day next year, make sure you say hello to Gary and get him to tell you the story about him, the gun and the Houses of Parliament at Davy Ross's epic Walk for Wallace in 2005. Gary became vice-convener of the Society to Duncan Fenton in 2010, following Davy's shock, sudden death, and was instrumental in the return of the Wallace Safe Conduct Letter to Scotland, a notable achievement for Scotland. He has been convener since 2014, taking over after Duncan's very sad passing. So, ladies and gentlemen, the convener of the Society of William Wallace, Gary Stewart.
Good evening, my name's Gary Stewart. Welcome to Virtual Wallace Day. Now, obviously this year's been a tough year for every single person, not just the Society, with COVID. Obviously people have lost their lives and loved ones, and we've all had to change how we run our lives. So it's been hard. It's something that, from the Society's point of view, we made the decision in March to cancel all our events, which I think was the right thing to do, even in March time, thinking that we're looking towards the future and not being able to see whether this would happen. Wallace Day, from our point of view, takes us about a year to get it organised. We obviously didn't want to go down that route, get people involved and then have to cancel it at the last minute. Obviously people travel all around the country to come to Wallace Day as well. So we obviously had to think of those people as well. And that was disappointing, especially from my point of view, being the convener of the society. I didn't want to be seen as the first convener to have actually physically cancelled Wallace Day, which would have been something I wasn't very happy about, but something that I felt was the right decision to make. We obviously then had a thought that maybe we could do a visual like Wallace Day. Ted Christopher, one of our friends, which you'll be able to see later on. Ted does his gigs on sort of Facebook and YouTube. So we sort of went down that sort of route and thinking, well, yeah, maybe that's a way that we can move forward. Speaking to Ted, Ted wasn't too sure whether he had the technology to do what we were looking to try and do. You know, if we look to try and do people doing speeches and try and keep Wallace Day as close to how we usually run it. Fortunately, I got in contact with Peter from Renfrewshire Council, who phoned me, just asked me how I was getting on with COVID, from the Society's point of view. Peter said that we were maybe thinking of going down a virtual Wallace Day. Peter then said, well, look, that's something that I can do. I've got guys that can do this and do it on a professional level. Ali, obviously the person doing the TV camera work today and throughout this whole sort of video, Peter got Ali involved. So Peter then said that Renfrewshire Council would be able to fund this. So from the Society's point of view, we are doing it in conjunction with the Renfrewshire Council, which is fantastic. It is something that we've been trying to get the council involved in, goodness sake, for the last 10 or 15 years. So it is really good to try and get momentum going, that hopefully we can move this on and working together as a team. So I'm no longer the convener to cancel Wallace Day. I'm the convener now to do the first virtual Wallace Day, which pleases me in no sight. So I feel a little bit better now in conjunction with that. I hope everybody enjoys it. Obviously, down to COVID, and obviously we'll see what happens next year. We'll obviously maybe go down the same route with a virtual Wallace Day. Or we've obviously got loads of members, we've got loads of friends all around the world, in Australia, Argentina, Liechtenstein, if you've heard Patrick there as well, all around the world. And what Peter was saying, that if COVID doesn't or calms down and we can actually do what we would normally do and have the march from Johnston to Elderslie, laying the wreath at the Wallace Monument, and have our speeches and our songs there, then what Peter's saying is that we could actually maybe look down the route of actually videoing the actual event. So you don't necessarily need to be at Wallace Day. You can actually watch it on Facebook again. So that's the plans for the future we've got. And fingers crossed we can run Wallace Day as we always have done, but this time with a little edge that people can watch it all around the world. Talking about Braveheart here. Now, I know a lot of people out there will go down the route of historically wise, it's not fictional. I'm of a different opinion. I think Braveheart brings William Wallace not just to Scotland as a whole, but throughout the whole world. I think you've also got to look on the fact that when I've watched the sort of start of the credits of Braveheart, it doesn't say a documentary of the life of William Wallace. It's a Hollywood film. We've got to obviously be aware that there's certain parts of it are not going to be right. The main parts are, and I think that's the major place that we've got to look at. I think worldwide as well, you've got to look at William Wallace when he won, and Andrew de Maurice, who won the Battle of Stirling Bridge in 1297. Again, people don't really are not aware of the fact that when Wallace won that battle with Andrew de Maurice, that's the first time a smaller nation has defeated its bigger next door neighbour. And you've got to try and appreciate that that went worldwide. I mean, this is a massive, massive thing. So a lot of smaller countries then decided, well, hold on a second, if Scotland can do it, so can we. So you've got to look at the recommendations across the actual world and not just with Scotland in our piece. Now, as I said, I think with Braveheart, it's down to what people perceive it to be or what people want it to be. And I think the media have obviously tried to downtrod what Wallace means to Scotland and what William Wallace was and what he did for Scotland as a whole. Would Bruce have done what he did in 1314 or 1305 when he was made king, 1306, sorry, when Wallace was murdered in 1305? We generally never ever know that. But to me, if it wasn't for William Wallace, we wouldn't be a Scotland. We wouldn't be a country. We'd be Northern Britain, probably. We'd be part of that. So I think we've got to look at Wallace in that we are Scottish because of this particular man. And I think that's maybe what, you get the Scottish cringe where people are trying to downtrod the Scottish history and what he did for his own country. I mean, I was in a pub one afternoon, or one night, sorry, and I'd just finished work. I didn't have a particularly good day. There was one of my friends was having a conversation with somebody about Braveheart, and my friend's going, oh, by the way, speak to Gary about it. He knows the full ins and outs of the film, the history of it. So the guy's going, historical wise, it's not right. And I'm going, yeah, okay, I'll give you that. You're right, it's not. I'm not going to sit here and argue on that particular fact that it's not. I know what's not right in the film. Do you? You tell me what part's not right, or is it what you've read in a particular newspaper or a particular TV show? You tell me what part in the film are not right, and I'll tell you whether you're right. Bruce and Wallace weren't born in the same era. The fact is, Robert the Bruce was born in 1274. William Wallace was born between 1270 and 1274. You look at the fact Wallace was murdered 1305, Bruce was made king in 1306. If you then really want to go down and think the Battle of Stirling Bridge was 1297, you've got the Battle of Bannockburn, which is 1314. Now maybe if I'm not particularly good at maths, but that's the same era to me. And the guy stood up, walked out, and didn't believe a word I said. Fortunately, I popped into the pub a week later just to drop a couple of Scottish books off to one of my friends. And this guy was there, and I was, it's a game, that's great, I can go and take the book over, he can have a wee quick check at it, and didn't really pay very much attention. He was brainwashed into what he had read or what he had heard, rather than actually listen to somebody that knows what they're talking about. And I think that's why the Braveheart, historically wise, is not correct, is to try and get people to actually just watch as a film and don't believe that these things actually happened. And if you look at the film itself, Wallace was born. If you look at the start of the film, where the Scottish sort of nobles are all hanging, which is the Barons of Ayr, that happened. Wallace won the Battle of Stirling Bridge. He lost the Battle of Falkirk, and he was hung, drawn, and quartered in London in 1305. They all happened. Okay, the wee bits in between, whatever else may not be 100% right. But the major parts of William Wallace's life story is in that film, and I think that's what people need to look at. From society's point of view, Braveheart, has made it easier for us. We have not had to be in a situation where you're going to go in trying to talk about William Wallace, who he was, what he did for Scotland. People already know that. They've watched the film. It's our job now. We can then go into the true story of William Wallace. And for that, Mel Gibson, and for Braveheart, I thank you. I think the other thing, it's gave Scotland a catchphrase. Wherever you go in the world, if somebody knows you're Scottish, they will shout freedom to you. Now, things that I do for the society, and we don't get paid for it, but the worst thing I've ever done, we were in Moldova with Scotland, and one of my friends was away getting ticket. Moldovan guy came over to one of my friends and shouted freedom, because we obviously kilted out at the time. My friend, he went over to my friend and started speaking, I love William Wallace, I have watched Braveheart. And my friend, we'll speak to Gary, my friend knows a lot about William Wallace, and he'll probably give you the true story. So he said, brilliant, you bring your friend. And the guy owns a pub. So he's obviously took us in, bottle of vodka, four glasses, opens it, pours the vodka. You talk about Wallace, you talk Wallace. And I'm sort of looking going, juice? is there any iron brew or coke here? But no, you drink straight vodka, you just keep talking. I was going to say we'd walked out of his pub at that point. I think Stagger's probably sort of closer to it. So as I said, the things I do for Wallace and the things I do for Scotland that day is probably the hardest thing that I've ever done. But the person now knows the true story. He took photographs, we have kept in contact, and I know there's photographs of Wallace and ourselves in his pub as well. Right, one of the things we've got going on with the Society that Shah, Halliday, Stuart Duncan and Neil Lochiel have been involved in is the Wallace Oak project, which is in Port Glasgow, where legend states that Wallace was changed there before he was taken down to London to be murdered in 1305. Now, I always find it strange. I'm fortunate because of what I do. I've been involved with going museums or private collections where you're seeing guns that have been held by Bonnie Prince Charlie, or swords that were used at the Battle of Culloden, whatever. And these are things I would love to have in my house, love to have them in the house, but obviously money-wise and constraints, I said to my wife, I've just spent 45 grand on a sword and things like that, probably wouldn't go down sort of very good, to be perfectly honest with you. So from my point of view, we've got the Wallace Oak, and we've got it where it was gifted to the Society. Okay, so we've obviously got the Wallace Oak. Now obviously I've got it in a frame here, which you can obviously do yourself. You've got the certificate there, the little bag, the Wallace Oak bit as well, the badge, the actual bag's got a Wallace's stamp there as well. £13 for a bit of history. And that to me is what it's about. It's a bit of Scottish history. So the Society are selling this. It's on our eBay account, it's on our Wallace website as well, which is www.soww.scot. Now, it's not just a bit of history that you're buying. What we're looking to try and do is actually build a monument at the actual bit, because the tree unfortunately now has fallen down, which is why the tree was gifted to the Society. And we're looking to build a monument in the spot that tree was at. Now, planning permission, which I know obviously I was involved with building the Bell of the Braes, massively important, and without that obviously you can't do any work. That's been passed, so we've got that. It's just a matter of getting the funding for it. Every single bit of oak that is sold doesn't go to the Society, it's going to the building of that particular monument. So again, you're buying a bit of Scottish history. But once that monument is actually built, and we've got photos of it, we unveil it, if you purchase this, you've actually been part of that particular monument being built. You've funded that. Now that's whether you're in Scotland, whether you're in America, whether you're in the United States, Australia, around the world. You can look at that and say, I helped fund that particular monument. So we're obviously supporting the team that are actually looking to build this particular monument, which they've been looking at running or been involved in probably for the last 5 or 6 years. So you're helping do that. Now what we're also looking to do is, at the moment this is 2 members only, where unfortunately I don't have, it's actually a bigger plaque than the one that I've shown you there. And I'm sure we probably obviously maybe be able to get some photographs in when this is done. So you're actually, for £80, you need to be a member of the Society of William Wallace to be able to get this. Now I think this is a limited edition. There's only 50 of them being made, which will be mentioned. Now you're getting the actual plaque, you're getting the certificate, you're getting the Wallace Oak, you're also getting an Alistair MacDonald that you've heard today. You're getting an Alistair MacDonald CD, which is signed. One of our good friends, Stephen Hughes, is doing a freedom tour of Stirling Bridge, which is all part of the £80 that you're looking to purchase. So to get this, all you need to do is a £10 deposit at the moment. If you go onto our website, you will be able to see that there, or the details, you will be able to see it there. Now, one of the things, and the certificate is massively important, the Wallace Oak, when we were gifted it, now the team and ourselves and the committee had a decision to make. We could sell it as the Wallace Oak, because that's obviously, legend states that that's what it is. But as a society, we wanted to go that little bit further and try and prove maybe this wasn't just legend, or try and prove it as much as we could possibly prove that this tree is what it says it was. Now, one of my friends, Dr. Fiona Watson, knows Curly Mills, who, there is a big long word on it here, which is a dendrochologist, which I'm not very good at saying, which is basically an expert in trees. So for people like myself, she's a tree expert. It's what she does. So we've got Dr. Curly Mills involved. She's obviously went out to see the tree. She studied the tree. She studied the legend, the history, the papers behind the tree. And she verifies that this piece of wood in this package is the legendary Wallace Oak from Port Glasgow. So it's not just me telling you that this is what it is. I've got an expert that is confirming that this is what it is. So I have it up, like hanging up. I'm proud to have it hanging up. I'm proud to be part of the team and what the guys are trying to do with the actual monument. I did vow after we built the Bell of the Bray that I wouldn't get involved in another monument, because I was stressed out my nut for about 7 years. So thanks for the boys for getting me back involved in this. It's easy to get. eBay, Society of William Wallace Facebook page. You can purchase a piece of history. I hope you're enjoying the live online stream today. I'd just like to thank all our members and all our friends out there that are watching it today, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. Hope you're still tuned in. Now for a bit of music from Faye's Fashleg.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the live stream. My name's Claire Hastings, on accordion is Grant McFarlane, and on guitar and fiddle is Ron Jappy, and we're going to give you a short set, starting with Scots Wha Hae. Scots Wha Hae, wi Wallace bled, Scots wha Bruce has often led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. Now's the day and now's the hour, see the front of battle lure, see approach proud Edward's poor, chains and slavery. Wha would be a traitor knave? Wha can fill a coward's grave? Wha sae base as be a slave? Let him turn and flee. Wha for Scotland's king and law, freedom's sword will strongly draw. Freeman stand or freeman fall, let him follow me. by oppressions, wars and pains, by your sons in servile chains. We must drain our dearest veins, but they shall be free. Lay the crude usurpers low, tyrants fall in every foe, liberties in every blow. Let us do our deed. Scots who I hate will Wallace blade, Scots who Bruce has often led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. That was Scots wha Hae live from the absolutely beautiful Paisley Abbey. We hope you're enjoying the stream so far. We're going to carry on with another famous song from Scotland by Dougie MacLean called Caledonia.
1, 2, 3, 2, 2.
I don't know if you can see the changes that have come over me in these past few days. I've been afraid that I might drift away, so I've been telling old stories and singing songs that make me think about where I came from. That's the reason why I seem so far away today. Oh, and let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. I have moved and I've kept on moving, proved the points that I needed proving. I've lost the friends that I needed losing, found others on the way. And I have tried, and I've kept on trying, stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying. I've travelled hard, sometimes with conscience flying, somewhere with the wind. Oh, and let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever Now I'm sitting here before the fire, the empty room, the forest choir. The flames they rise don't get any higher. They're withered, now they're gone. And I'm steady thinking, my way is clear, and I know what I must do tomorrow. When the hands have shaken and kisses flown, then I must Caledonia, you're calling me. Now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Well, thank you very much for watching our set as part of the William Wallace Day celebrations. We hope you enjoy the rest of the videos. And once again, my name's Claire Hastings, this is Grant McFarlane and Ron Jappy. Thank you very much for watching.
We hope you're enjoying the stream, and we're now going to hear a bit of history from Martin McGregor from the University of Glasgow.
Many thanks, and it's a pleasure to be here and speaking at this event about William Wallace, organised by the Wallace Society. There's a long-running debate as to whether Wallace should be associated with Ellerslie in Ayrshire or Elderslie in Renfrewshire, but what's indisputable is that he was part of the following of the Stuarts, who dominated what we now think of as Renfrewshire, what was called the Stuartry on the south bank of the Clyde, and the Stuarts have become one of the great families or kindreds of medieval Scotland, patrons of Paisley Abbey, and ultimately they made the kingship of the Scots because of the marriage of Walter Stewart with Marjorie Bruce, Bruce's daughter, and their son Robert Stewart, going on to become King of Scots, the first of the Stuart dynasty in 1371. And we could argue that Wallace's revolution in 1297 helped to inspire Bruce's own revolution in 1306, and was ultimately therefore part of this process which brought the Stuarts to the kingship of the Scots. Wallace himself comes into history in 1297. Edward I had conquered the country. He'd established a colonial regime. Wallace was not alone in leading resistance against Edward. There was a rising in the north of Scotland, there was a rising in the southwest, and Robert Bruce, the future king, was involved in that. But Wallace himself, a member of a minor aristocratic family from southwestern Scotland, was in the thick of the action. On the 3rd of May 1297, he slew William Hazelrig, the English sheriff of Lanark, and that was the signal for a general revolt. Later that month, he tried to assassinate the English justiciar in Scotland, William Ormsby, and then he and Andrew Murray came together and successfully fought the Battle of Stirling Bridge in 1297. Now, Wallace was not a man from nowhere. He was not the humble peasant as sometimes portrayed in popular history. He was a member of a family that belonged to the minor Scottish aristocracy. But Wallace's social status meant that he would not have had a natural following of his own. And the following that came to him was clearly attracted by his own charisma, his own leadership qualities. And we know of examples of ordinary middling Scots who came out for Wallace in 1297. We also know, we're told by contemporary English chronicle, that the magnates of the land came out for Wallace as well. So there was a kind of cross-class attraction in this leader. In the wake of the successful fighting of the Battle of Stirling Bridge, Wallace became Guardian of Scotland. This was because King John, the King of Scots, had been forced to abdicate his throne by Edward I. In that vacuum of leadership, Wallace became the Guardian, the effective leader of the country. His status as such depended on the fact that he was leader of the army of the Kingdom of Scotland. Normally the King of Scots would perform that role. Wallace, in the absence of the king, was now the military leader of the country. But the following July, 1298, Wallace fought and lost the Battle of Falkirk, and that meant the end of his military prowess in a formal sense, and it meant that he had to leave the guardianship. However, he remained absolutely committed to the national cause. We know that he went into diplomatic service in a period when the Scots were looking for support from the King of France and from the Pope as well. It was not until the 5th of August 1305 that Wallace was finally captured by Edward I, and he was taken south. This was a special arrangement made by Edward, and he was executed at Smithfield in London on the 23rd of August 1305. Now we know about the horrific details of the execution under the English law of treason, and that's been portrayed in films like Braveheart. What is perhaps less well known is that Wallace was executed on the eve of St Bartholomew's Fair, the 23rd of August. This was the greatest communal gathering in medieval England, and certainly in medieval London. St Bartholomew was martyred through being flayed alive, and he was the patron saint of butchers. There was a meat market at Smithfield then and long after, but also the patron saint of tanners who work with skin. And in the wake of the Battle of Stirling Bridge, Wallace had the English Treasurer of Scotland, who had been notorious for his oppression of the Scots under this colonial regime. Wallace had him flayed and taken a strip of skin which he made into a belt which he used for his own sword. So it appears that Edward I was seeking to meet poetic justice upon William Wallace by having him executed and associated in his execution with St Bartholomew. I think that Wallace, however, had the triumph, had the last word in this issue, in this confrontation between himself and Edward I. Wallace never acknowledged the fealty of Edward. He remained a free man until his death. He was tried under the English common law of treason, but Wallace had never done fealty to Edward. The greatest statement which the Scots produced during this War of Independence came in 1320, the Declaration of Arbroath, in which they said that it is in truth not for riches, nor honours, nor glory that we fight, but for libertas, for freedom, for that which no man gives up except with life itself. And it seems to me that William Wallace epitomises this relationship between life and liberty and the Scottish nation better than anybody else in our history. It was impossible for Wallace to do homage to Edward I. Clearly it was just not in his nature at all. Wallace recognised that a life lived without freedom was not a life at all, that it was indeed a form of death, and this was something that Edward could not deny Wallace. Wallace died a free man, and in doing so he went on to act as an enduring symbol of freedom, and that remains the case in the Scotland of today. Many thanks for listening, and I hope that you continue to enjoy this online event.
Okay, now on to Stalwarts of Wallace Day, to the site of Wallace's birthplace and the Elderslie Wallace Monument, on this year's solemn tribute and wreath-laying ceremony for Sir William Wallace. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure having you with us, although we haven't been able to see you, and it's been great that so many people have contributed to the success of this virtual Wallace Day. Can I leave you with one message? Please remember to join the Society today. I've already mentioned how it can be done. It'll be a great way to round off our day and appreciate your thanks to us and our thanks to you by the membership increasing. Earlier I mentioned that Wallace Day usually finishes with a hoolie at Eldersley Village Hall. Well, this is going to be variation of that tonight. There will still be a hoolie, not at the Village Hall, but it's going to be with Ted Christopher in his studio. So don't cut off watching this at this particular point in time. Have a look at the comments below and a link will be posted about how you can go from here to Ted's hoolie. Don't miss it.